Hello and welcome to Dr. Silica's workshop.
Today we're going to build the Bucklerman, Frostfire Herald, and the War Surgeon from the Hegemony of Embersig, from the Warcrow two-player starter pack, Winds from the North. So we'll get started on the War Surgeon. If this is your first time working with CEOcast, it is not traditional plastic like you might find with a Games Workshop miniature or a gunplay kit. So you'll need to use super glue, and you'll want to have a really sharp hobby knife handy for cleaning up any mold lines or flash or anything like that. So work carefully, take your time, be observant. I like to take a look for how the model is going to fit together and look for any flash or anything that's going to impede putting it together for a dry fit. So on this part here, the head and right arm, this bit on the elbow might get in the way, so I'll cut that off. Take your time. Once you're prepping for Adepticon, there's no rush. That one's for everyone who's been painting at 2 a.m. before the tournament starts. All right, so that's set there. This other arm and satchel, we'll just take care of this bit. You could use clippers on this, but just take your time, be safe. Let me try a slicing motion here. This piece is a little bit thicker, so I'll cut around it. There it goes. Yeah, so you want to be careful. All right. Yeah, the skills that you learn from other hobbies can transfer over. So from building gunplay kits, they tell you to always snip the sprue a little bit away from where it meets the model. So for example, on the feet here, you might leave a little bit extra and then you'd shave that away with your hobby knife. So that's a technique I could have used earlier on this piece. But with those big pieces out of the way, we're going to do a test fit on this. And that seems all right. Seems to fit pretty good. There's a bit of a gap right there, but depending on how I glue it, that might be avoidable. You can also look inside and see, is there anything in here that's getting in the way, and it doesn't seem to be the case. I'll also test this arm. Obviously there's that bit right there, so let's get rid of that. This material, the CEOcast, is not particularly forgiving once you've glued it. You can't break it apart like metal. So do take your time to make sure that things fit how you'd like them to. Get really comfortable with how they fit. These seem to go together pretty nicely. And you can kind of, it locks into place and you can tell when it's where it's supposed to be. So make sure you find that and that you're comfortable with it. Bit of a mold line on the sleeve. Rest of this is looking pretty good. Take care of that last little bit up there. So no one's really going to see this underneath the model. You can use either a foam sanding pad, or frankly a nail file. Got these online somewhere. There's 4 different grits. I'll use one of the higher grits and just kind of sand that. As a warning, when you sand CeoCast, you're going to make little fringes and feathering on it. So once you've sanded it and gotten it where you want it to be, take your knife, make sure to scrape it clean. And that'll look nicer and neater. All right. So take a look at this. Again, take your time. There's a little bit of flash right on the end of the blade there. And I want to get rid of that, but I don't want to damage the blade, so just got to go in there. There we go. Turn that bad boy over. For this, I'll actually put that down. Much better. Going in here, a little bit of a mold line flash situation on the back. So I'll ever so gently cut that. Once you're entering a competition, consider who is going to see or how someone would see a given area of a model, and let that guide how much time you want to spend on it. If it is underneath or on the back, when it's in a display case, no one's going to see it. When it's on the table, only you are going to see it. Definitely not saying it's not worth the time, just saying that it's up to you how much time you want to spend trying to fix something that not a lot of people are going to see. It's a bit of a tricky one. It's in the folds of the fabric. I think for me, for now, that's good enough. I'm going to come along here. There's a little bit of a fringe on that where I sanded it, so I'll scrape that. All right. Good enough there. Head's good. The beak of the mask has a line right down the middle, so we can probably scrape that off. Smooth that out a little bit with the sponge. All right. Pretty pleased with that. And then going back to the body. So again, there's a mold line here. It's going to be covered by the satchel. I'm not going to spend any time on that. There is the cloak, though, needs a bit of work. A little bit of TLC. So try to address that. Really impressed with the crispness of these models. The casting's quite nice, and the sculpting is excellent. A lot of motion and energy captured in them, and I'm really excited to see them on the table. So you'll see that there's been some particles that kind of stick to the model. And what I'll do is either take a can of compressed air, if I prime them with my airbrush, I'll spray them down before I put the paint through, just to make sure I've got any dust off. And especially if it's been a couple days between building and priming them, you don't want to get anything like that captured underneath the paint. All right, so that's her torso there. She's all set. Just gotta get the feet so I can base her later. Don't particularly care if it's perfect or not, so in this instance I am just gonna snip them off there and make sure that they're flat. One thing you can do is just take a second, put them on a base. It's stable enough for me. She's standing on her own, so any sort of unevenness will be covered by any dirt I put underneath, so that's great. All right, set aside the tools for now. Super glue, I like the gel stuff just because it doesn't get all over the place and it's easy to wick away with some paper towel when you're done, if there's any extra. But use what you like, what you're comfortable with. Before I do this, before I glue this, I am going to fit her together one last time, and that's feeling pretty good. Definitely want to do this before the other arm. So we'll go in, get some glue. There we go. All right, not too much, not too little. The less you put on, the faster it'll cure, but obviously you need enough to have a good contact and a good amount of adhesion between the pieces. So let's do this, and then it still will take a little bit of time. So she's in, her head's in, making sure that gap there is minimal, turning her over. That gap over there is okay. I'm just going to hold her in place for a little bit. All right, feeling good about that. And I'll move on to the other arm. Glue on the 2 contact points. Get that in there. All right. Yeah, that's it. She looks great. Really excited to have the war surgeon on the table. I think she's going to do well, and just opportunities for to paint a really neat model. So as far as basing goes, Warcrow miniatures will come with specific bases. You need to use the base size they come with. It's integral to the game. It's part of how movement works. So if you are going to buy custom bases or print custom bases or make them, they just need to be whatever size the model comes with. So in this instance, it's a 30 millimeter round base. Take that contact point there, injection point, and clean that up a little bit. Just gently set that off to the side to cure for now. And that is the War Surgeon from Winds for the North.